Welcome. And thank you for joining us for Coffee with Hillary and Les, brought to you by the State of Mind Hypnosis and Training Center, located in the heart of the Kawartha Lakes. This is our almost daily community podcast about the mind and how we all might change it in the most simple and helpful ways. Every day we sit, staring at the lake and sipping our coffee, chatting about hypnosis and how to make those meaningful adjustments to our state of mind. Because nothing's more important than your state of mind.
Okay, we are on the line.
On the line. Cloudy summer day. Fishermen are out there in their fishing boats, zipping by, going to their favorite spots. It's fun watching the fishing boats because these guys are fishing. And so when they're driving their boat, they're driving fast to get to the next place they want to fish.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a tournament because we're just seeing fishing boats streaking by left and right.
Yeah. And then midday they come right up to our dock.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
So we have those lily pads.
Yeah.
They're thinking that's the place.
Yeah.
Beautiful day. It's a day that we've just finished a bunch of stuff, right?
Yeah, mental theatrics.
Yeah, like when you...
Emotional, mental.
I think that's the reason why we're thinking about bucket lists. And I think, we just spent a month preparing to have a big celebration here at home.
Mm-hmm.
And it was I felt very intense trying to get everything done.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was.
And then so when the party was over, the next day it was just a massive release, but I couldn't completely relax because we were finishing a course. We've created a couple of new hypnotists.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to finish that course, and that just finished yesterday or the day before. And that's a big release. And I really think that when you've finished things that you had as goals, there goes another boat. When you've finished things that are very intense, that you've got goals and you've accomplished a goal, no matter how big or small you want to call it, you finish that goal, immediately you have sort of a letdown, and then you look to what's next.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about all the kids finishing school this year, because we're now, everybody has just finished their last grade. It's the end of June, and everybody's coming to the summer, and some people are graduating from whatever they're graduating from, and families, I think about parents, just boom, we've done another year of school. The kids have moved through, the kids have moved on. I think that it's kind of a letdown time. It's kind of boy, that was a hard run. And I think that's a natural time to start thinking about what's next.
Yeah, and I think it's been ingrained in us too. It's kind of like the hurry up and wait idea where we're always doing something, I feel like, or we're always in a lineup. Think about how many lineups we're in, and then it's like finally over, and then we're on our way to the next lineup, wherever that is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we really think we should be doing.
Yeah.
Doing. What should I be doing now? Now that I've done that, what should I be doing now?
Yeah, where am I going next?
And it's really easy to find yourself just trapped in the process then of the, I don't know, the mundane, the day-to-day, sometimes the dreary, sometimes the task or the chore. See it as, what do I need to get done now,
Well, I noticed, because yesterday we were just taking a chill day, and I think you exclaimed maybe 3/4 through the day that you felt like, you were supposed to be doing something.
Yeah, I felt really weird. I felt restless. I felt sort of confused. I didn't want to engage anything, but I felt like I should have been, and I kept reminding myself, it is okay just to rest. It was pouring rain all day. What the heck were we going to do other than just relax and be in the house? And eat some food, and
We did lots of that.
we did some of that, didn't we? And I think it's just something very, very common that when you accomplish something or you finish something or something comes to a conclusion, there's a driving force inside you that makes you think, or a habit maybe. It's just a habit of thinking that I should be doing the next thing. What should I be doing now? And then should kind of controls you.
Yeah.
Whereas today I wake up and I think, what do I want to do? I mean, I had a good night's sleep. I had a nice self-hypnosis before I went to bed. I woke up, went straight to self-hypnosis, so sort of cleared out some of those groggies. And I woke up this morning thinking about, my life is mine, and maybe that's the first reframe for today. At what point, when I talk to young people, I'd say, at what point does your life belong to you? At what point do you claim ownership over your life? Right? It's hard when you have, when you're young and you have parents and your immediate reaction is that your parents are guiding you and everything you do has to go through their approval, or they think that everything you do needs to go through their approval, and you resist and you fight. But at what point does your life belong to you? At what point does your life change and you suddenly have a lot of people in your life? What if you have a partner, and what if you have kids, and what if you have obligations to family or to job or to business or to these things that seem to get a hold of us? Does our life belong to us anymore? Does my life belong to me? That's a great question, I think, to ask yourself. And what would it mean if my life belonged to me?
Yeah.
What would it mean to you if your life belonged to you?
Well, I've never really thought of it that way, but
That's why you should.
Yeah. I feel like it does belong to me. But maybe there's aspects of it that I don't feel that way because I have obligations or things I've built that maybe would make it feel like I'm tied down, or I don't like that saying, but well, I mean, think about the life we've built here, right? And the thing is that it doesn't tie us down unless we put that in, out there that it is tying us down. But like we discussed a little bit this morning, it's like we could do anything. We could. It's really our mind that limits us.
Yeah, I think about that, and I think of it in terms of attachments. Attachments, the things we're attached to, the things that we have or we are that we don't want to let go of. You can be attached to things, have possessions. I have a box of keepsakes that I carry around, I've been carrying around for, nearly 30 years. And it's just keepsakes. And I feel attached to it. I don't want to get rid of it. I don't look at it. It sits in the garage closed. And once a year I go out and see that box. I say, what is that box? And I open it up and I see some of these things in there. And I go, oh, I see why I'm hanging on to this. Then I put the lid back on the box and I put it back up on the shelf.
Yeah.
We can be attached to people. We feel obligations to people, or we feel just deep commitment and love. I mean, an attachment isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's certainly good to be aware, right? We can be attached to ideas, right? Where we think that our ideas or our beliefs or our convictions or our profession or our politics or our view of ourselves, we can be attached to those ideas and not want to change those. And that might serve us and that might not serve us. Attachments, attachments like a bucket list, I think, or something to revisit. Mm-hmm. And ask yourself, where does this thing, person, idea, this attachment, where does it fit into my life?
Yeah. Yeah, so then we went down the bucket list idea.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I was saying to Les, I feel like it's all just places I want to visit, but there's so much more to it. And then he said, turn on the mic. So, yeah, at first it was like, oh, well, bucket list means where do you want to go? Where do you want to visit? But there is really, when it comes down to it, there's so much more than that. You know, there's things like just even little things. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be like a life-changing event or anything. But just things you want to do or see or be or learn or really anything.
Mm-hmm. When I started to create a bucket list this morning, I added speak Spanish to it. I would like to speak Spanish. I think that there's a whole world that I love, right? You know, from Mexico to Cuba to, I would love to go to Panama. I would like to spend time in Costa Rica. There's a whole world of Hispanic speakers. And I think, oh, if I could really have a better, more meaningful experience if I could just converse. If I could just, you know, one of my favorite things is to sit in a coffee shop and listen in to other people talking and just see what other people are fascinated with, what people are focused on. And we go to Cuba and I can't really do that. I understand a little from the days when I was doing refugee work, but I don't understand a lot. And every, you know, as I discovered back then, you know, there's a lot of different ways to speak Spanish. You know, the Mexican Spanish is very different from Dominican Spanish, which is different from Cuban Spanish. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I thought, oh boy, wouldn't it be great to speak Spanish? And of course, for me, I go to, well, you're too old for that. And no, like, why are you ever too old for anything? You can begin anything at any time in your life. Your life is just like a story that you tell yourself. Mm-hmm. This is who I am. Mm-hmm. This is the story of my life. This is what this little guy became and then did and then had and then created. And then at some point, we talk about this silly idea of retirement, which is, you know, yeah, I say contentment is the kiss of death. As soon as you're content, you're not striving, you're not looking, you're not creating, you're not curious, you're not excited. Contentment. Avoid contentment at all costs.
Content always... I never really liked that word, content. It doesn't make me feel good, that word, you know. Yeah, the word content to me just feels like, oh yeah, you know, there's this is good enough. I'm good. Right? It doesn't feel very good. In my mind, it's not like a word that you want your life to be.
Yet I think that for many people, you know, they get there and they start to question, or more importantly, they stop dreaming. I think that's the key. You know, to me, I'm learning more and more that, especially when I'm working with clients who are having a hard time, you know, with addictions and specifically addictions to phones. You know, there is a lack of excitement about life when you're feeling bored, when you're feeling like nothing good is going on and you're just looking for something else, right? Like poor Tyke here. She's bored, so now she's eating. Right? Just like the rest of us. Just like the rest of us. We get bored and we do things like eat or drink or spend hours on our phone or play video games or stare at YouTube the kinds of things that don't make us feel great about what we're doing, but they make us feel better than we felt a few minutes before. And I just think there's something about having dreams and aspirations that is an essential part of being a happy human being. Mm-hmm. I never used to think bucket lists were, I used to think the idea was kind of silly. What do I want to do before I kick the bucket? Right? And I kind of thought, well, I thought back to when I was young and I just did things. When I was young and I had no attachments, I thought, look, I can fit the whole of my life in the back of my car. And about the only thing I was attached to was my car because it just was a representation of freedom to me. Mm-hmm. I could go and do anything I wanted. I'd climb in the car and go. And I would just do things and I would just live. And then, you partner up and you start to amass your version of wealth or the things you want to get or the things you want to accomplish or the places you want to go together. And then, you have offspring and they become an enormous focus for you. When you're busy sort of working a job, creating a household, parenting kids, it's really, really easy to stop aspiring. And in fact, it almost feels dangerous to start dreaming about making changes. And we can be really resistant with each other about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody can hear our doggy chewing in the background.
So do you think contentment or being content leads to the idea of midlife crisis?
I think part of contentment is accepting something less than what you were aspiring to. I think contentment it's good in that you're telling yourself, hey, I've come a long way. Like, I've accomplished a lot. This is pretty good. Mm-hmm. What I've got here is pretty darn good. And it's an acceptance that maybe I'm not going to have everything I want. Maybe I'm not going to do everything I want. Maybe I'm not going to be everything that I want. Maybe this is as good as it gets. Maybe there's no more room for dreaming. I mean, one of the drawbacks to being really engaged at accomplishing a goal is that you stop producing new goals, right? Mm. You're so darn focused all your time and energy in trying to make something that you're working on work that you stop the process of dreaming new dreams and aspiring to things further and greater and more.
Yeah.
And I think that when you're not dreaming, you can become content with what you've accomplished. And so I think that that shift from individual life creation to, sort of family-based or group-based life creation, to accomplishing certain stages or goals that feel good but aren't the end of the story, mm-hmm. can lead to a contentment. I also think there's a bit of fatigue there, mental fatigue, emotional fatigue. There's a lot of ups and downs getting to where we want to go. Mm-hmm. And so to sort of disengage from those emotional ups and downs, we have a natural tendency to look around and say, this is pretty good. I've done pretty good. And I think that can invite the questions that say, well, what do I really want from me? Mm-hmm. What is it? It's almost a stimulus to reconsider individuality.
Yeah.
And what do I want for me? What did I want for me in my life? Mm-hmm. And I think that's that place where people go and they're dissatisfied, and so they have these crises that sort of say, I got to get rid of everything in my life, or I got to get rid of these people in my life, or I've got to break free of this relationship or this family or this thing I've created, or I've got to feel young again. And I think that it's really much more a symptom of not insufficient dreaming. Insufficient hoping and aspiring.
Yeah. But I think humans are, well, I think you're right? Humans, despite what we might feel, I think we're naturally creative. I mean, I've said before, like, we wouldn't have gotten this far in society if we weren't creative, right? Like, we wouldn't have gotten this far in humanity if we weren't creative. So it's like, if we tamp down that creative side of us, that looking for more, or aspiring for more, or dreaming, or problem solving, I think we get bored, right? And maybe we just don't know what to do with that boredom, so we go out and buy Ferraris or something.
Are you yearning for a Ferrari? Is that what's going on?
No.
Where's my Ferrari?
No. I feel like I have the opposite problem. I dream. No, I don't want to say too much, but I have lots of things always on the go. If you know me, you're like, oh yeah, that's Hillary. She's got like 10 things on the go.
Well, and that's an urge from deep within, right? An urge for more, an urge for better, an urge for creation, and that's a good thing. I think what happens is we often shift from being the creator of our lives. Like, it's a big thing. Make that your reframe, I reframe my thinking around my life. I am the creator of my life. I am not the victim of my life. I create this life. I create this personality. I create this persona. And I create my daily activities. And I create and tell a new story to myself. To shift from that, I'm the victim, or I'm trapped within my past choices. And remember that I can make new choices. And I can make different choices. Choices can change. I think that there's a huge shift there. I am the creator of this life. I can be anything. I can have anything. I can do anything. I can go anywhere. I can be anything I dream I might want to be. And I just think that's a dramatically more positive vibration.
Yeah.
And that might lead you to writing a bucket list. Just to consider, like, a bucket list I don't think is anything to be hung on to. It's not to be, we don't cling to it. It's a list of ideas that at this point, from where I am right now, is interesting and stimulating and just attractive to me, right? And to not even hang on to that list, because that list could change tomorrow, right? I thought it was fun that we both said we wanted to go to Bali as the top of our travel list. That was fun. That was great to think about, that we both have a similar interest to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've got learn a language on mine too. So.
Yeah, see, like, I think that we are naturally growth oriented. When we try to be more positive about our life, we naturally want to add to who and what we are.
Yeah. But I think you're right, they can change. They can even just be things that you don't hold on to so much. Like, for instance, the Grand Canyon's on mine. It's a nice, interesting to think about. I've seen pictures, but it's not something that I have to do. but it's definitely nice to think about expanding and seeing that.
Going to the desert and doing peyote and having a
No.
spiritual experience and
That's not on my... But I do see a UFO.
there you go.
There we go. See a UFO. So how would I see a UFO?
Yeah.
Maybe do a dark sky or C5.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Things like that. But also then my mind started going, okay, well, if I can do that, then I was thinking, go on a retreat. We've seen Dispenser retreats. We've seen Greer retreats. Well, maybe I want to go on a retreat. So I wrote that down. And then I was like, oh, maybe I want to hold a retreat. So now I've got hold a retreat on there. Mm-hmm. So once I started to write it out, there was actually lots more than just places on Earth that I wanted to see.
Mm-hmm. I've really enjoyed aspiring to having my own home and having a place like, what we have here was just a dream to me a few years ago. I wanted to be living beside a body of water, in nature, seeing nature every day, feeling nature, feeling, detached and away from sort of the density and heaviness and intensity of cities and towns. And there I am, and it's just wonderful. But now I want to be a turtle. I want to get a camper van, and not a big one, a camper van, and not have any place and call it home, and call every place home, and just spend months just traveling around and checking things out, and Grand Canyon, let's go, or Tofino, let's go, or head to Halifax, let's go. Mm-hmm. Do you want to go to Panama? Let's go. And just I feel like there are certain things that used to be so important to me that aren't anymore, and it's good to give myself permission to let go of what used to be very important to me.
Yeah. Like these squeaky chairs.
Like these squeaky chairs. Or I think for some people, being a parent was something they really aspired to. And for some people, it was something they never aspired to. For some people, being a parent was a hard experience or a good experience, or probably some of each. I'm lucky to be on the other side of that, right? I'm in that sort of classic parent way. I'm done, right? I have beautiful, beautiful, wonderful people who are off living their own lives now. And they don't really need me for much. The occasional check-in, the occasional piece of advice, the occasional just pat on the back, and I'm proud of you and you're doing great. And that creates an enormous freedom in me now, that like what would I do with all that energy that I used to spend there? Mm-hmm. Right? So I think about, who am I now? Who could I be now? Retiring was huge, huge, both painful and confusing, and at the same time freeing. And the further I get towards the freedom of it all, right? Just I did that. I was that. I did a good job at that. I was successful at that. I'm done with that. I've done everything I could do in that I care to do. What do I care to do now? And now I just love thinking about the mind and talking to people about the mind and helping people with their mind and teaching other people how to help other people with their mind. Mm-hmm. I can create a new story anytime I want.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we all can. Like my oldest client was 92 years old, trying to create a new story for themselves, right? Mm-hmm. I think, not saying it's easy, right? I struggle with it. And even I think I'm too old sometimes. I'm only 40, so it's like...
I think
That's weird.
sometimes the thinking you're too old is really about attachments and clinging to things. So a big insight that you have when you spend time trying to learn about the mind, a big insight is to realize that the mind can only put its attention on one thing at a time. We've talked about this, that, people talk about multitasking, and that's not real. It's called switching. The psychologists have done all these studies and said people don't do two things at once. What they do is switch back and forth between two things. And the closer those things are related to each other, the easier it is to switch back and forth. And so, the idea really is that if what you want is a new version of your life, a new story, a new experience, something that is dramatically different from what you're experiencing now, it actually requires letting go of what you're experiencing now. And I think for some people that's really hard. It's really hard to say, I'm giving up my story. And maybe that leads us to the next series of podcasts. I think we want to have podcasts about past, present, and future. And I think about the past, and the past is really, it's just gone. Like, it's gone. Like, the moment that was here 5 minutes ago is gone. It's never coming back. Whatever happened in that moment, you can't change. You can dwell on, you can think about it, you can cling to it, you can suffer from it. You can have guilt and shame and confusion. You can have anger and resentment and all those things about the past, but there's absolutely nothing you can do with it. And to have all those emotions about the past is just not really all that helpful. So to say, that what I was, what I did, the time of life I was in, whenever that was, because that happened, those changes happen quickly. Every 2-3 years, you're looking back at a different version of yourself when you look back. And to just say, I let go of that. I don't need to cling to that. What matters is the me that I'm creating right now. And am I creating, or am I passively letting things happen? Am I creating? And I think that's, for me now, yeah, a bucket list is probably worth doing.
I don't see the bucket list, honestly, any different than, say, a vision board. A vision board is getting pictures and placing them on a board for what the things that you want to do or create or, as we say, manifest. Yeah. So I see them both as creative endeavors. And to maybe look at a bucket list as a visual future, right? Creating that. As I was saying that, I was like, where am I going with this? But I think it's interesting to me when I think of a bucket list. It doesn't take much to just write down what you want. But if you were to take an extra step with it and start to envision what you've written down, or think about how it might feel to do that, or be there, or create that, then that might add some oomph to it,
Yeah, it puts you into a different feeling and emotion when you're looking at stuff like that. And I think about, I want to live in Spain. Out of all the countries in Europe, I've never been to Spain. And I would like to go live in Spain. I don't know why.
Because of the rain?
The rain in Spain? Maybe it's just the Three Dog Night song. I've never been to Spain.
Oh.
But it's just something that feels interesting and enticing and somewhat exciting. and draws me. And if I allow it to draw me, if I allow myself to go there and I allow myself to imagine, allow myself to look at pictures, I allow myself to think about what would happen, what might happen, what could happen, I start to rise up. I start to feel higher. I start to feel clearer and excited. And that's just, I think, the incredible value of considering what's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's, I'll always go back in my mind to someone we know who's in their 90s, and it's just such a testament to always looking forward to tomorrow, you know, like having something on your list of things to do, right? When I really truly believe that when a human mind is looking forward and has things that they want to accomplish, it just keeps you going, and it keeps you interested in life, and it keeps the heart beating. And I truly believe in it. You know.
So maybe this summer, make a bucket list, make a vision board. Consider that the story is not finished, and that there's new chapters with new exciting things in them waiting for you. And that you're allowed to create whatever you want to create. There is no rule against it, and it's nobody else's business.
Yep.
Time to be who you want to be. About you. For you. Bucket lists.
All right. 40 minutes. Holy moly. Okay. We'll see you later. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast and that maybe it helped, even a little. If you have any questions, we would love you to send them along in an email to info@somhypnosis.com. Thank you for being part of the State of Mind community. For more information about hypnosis and the various online or in-person services we provide, please visit our website, www.somhypnosis.com. The link will be in the notes below. While you are there, why don't you book a free 1-hour journey meeting with Hillary or Les to learn more about what hypnosis is and how you might use it to make your life what you want it to be. Bye for now. Talk to you tomorrow.